Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Teams training today. It's 10 a.m., so we're going to go ahead and get things kicked off. Today's session is going to be around application integration into Teams. So we're going to focus our time, mostly on applications that are, really Teams. If you think of Teams, it's really a platform for Office 365 and even other external applications. So we're going to focus on that story today. So we won't be working as talking about as much, team-specific content. We're going to really focus time on all the apps that are in Office 365 that you can integrate into Teams to do work and do things better. We're using live events for the meeting today. That is, if you haven't played around with it, it's available to schedule in Teams as well. And this is our broadcast tool that we can broadcast out to like 10,000 people plus. So it's a little different than a standard Teams meeting, as you probably noticed. If you've been to one of these trainings before, you're familiar with it. But if not, just know that this is more of a one-way broadcast, and that the way to interact with our team on our end is to use the Q&A tool to do that. So just post any questions throughout. We'll stop and take questions throughout the presentation today. But feel free to just post whatever questions you have. We have a team on our side answering questions in real time. So we'll get a question asked, or I'll just sort of stop and answer questions as time goes on. Just to let you know, there are a number of trainings going on for the month of June. You can see here, we're on June 4th, a Thursday, app integration. If you're looking for more of like a Teams fundamentals training, that's really around like Teams 101. You see we do those on most Tuesdays of the week. If you're looking for some more advanced features, which is really kind of a nice session, if you're using Teams, we want to kind of learn some new tools and tips on how to use it better, more efficiently. That Wednesday session is really a nice one too. These Thursday sessions are like a series of different topics on a rotating basis, so kind of like special topics. So today's app integrations. Next week, we'll focus on meetings and how to do meetings efficiently in Teams, kind of the differences between Outlook and Teams and some best practices there. And then live events is this tool that we're using right now to broadcast out to a large group of people. So we'll show you how to set those up and be successful with that. So anyway, today's topic is app integration. Feel free to join some of those other ones if you're interested. All right, so moving on to Teams, this is the only slide I'm going to have for actual Teams. So for those of you who are here, you're probably already familiar that Teams really is like the hub in Office 365 for teamwork. And really, it's also the hub for all of the other applications that are in Office 365. So that's really what we're going to focus on today. But what's really the magic, I would say, about Teams, what makes it special, is you can, all of these are integrated together. Right? So with all of these applications that we're going to show you today, you have the ability to use them in meetings very easily. You also have the ability to like post up content about the different apps that you're using and chat in just a very seamless way in your team. So that's really kind of the the better together story, as opposed to just using these applications on their own. I think the story really of integration into Teams is just going to be a really easy way for you and your groups, the people that you work with, to use applications and talk about them and update and provide updates and have that all in one place. So that's really the value proposition, I would say, of Teams, is really bringing that all together in one spot. Okay, so let's get into it. When I think of apps, and this is really kind of my framework, this isn't like sort of the official Microsoft stance. This is kind of how me, Adam, thinks about them. But I should have introduced myself. Adam Schau, by the way, I'm on the federal customer success team, and our team is the one doing all of those trainings throughout the month. So I host our Thursday sessions. So nice to meet y'all. Glad you're here. I really think of apps in three different buckets. Okay, I first think about the apps that Microsoft has created and integrated into Office 365 natively. What's nice about these from a government perspective is they've all been through the FedRAMP process, so we will never release an application in your environment that's not completely secure and has already gone through all the credentials to be used in the government space. The second piece, this is kind of a little bit of a different slant, but I use the website tab, which does need to be enabled So so we'll go through and I'll show you what that looks like, but just know if you don't see that pop up, that's something that you should talk with your administrator about. But once you have access to the website tab in Teams, you can really bring in a lot of different content, and it really kind of changes the game if you think about it in terms of using Teams as a platform and use the website tab to do that. So I'll share some tips with you on how to do that, but really think of that as like anything that you can access in a browser, now you can pull in directly into Teams, right? So that could be any application. It could be a SharePoint application. It could be, a website, really just about anything. So that's a pretty cool feature. We'll kind of talk through that a bit. And then finally, we won't spend a ton of time on third-party apps. I know for the government, for you all in the government space, typically what I see with my customers, I work with a number of federal customers, kind of hesitant to turn on third-party apps initially. I think over time that'll change. But I do want to just focus and touch on that a little bit, just so you know what's available. Because if there's apps that you're using today, so one that I see with my federal customers is like Adobe Sign, that you're already using in your environment. Really, there's no reason not to turn that on in Teams and then have that application available to you directly in Teams as well as outside of Teams too. So anyway, we're going to cover those three together. Let's start with Microsoft apps. So there are a number of Microsoft apps, and I actually am going to go through each one of them. And then we're going to pause and take questions afterwards. But please just, I want to make sure we do a thorough demo and make sure that you understand which one all of these applications can do, how you might integrate them into Teams. So feel free to just sort of chat. So let's start here. Yeah, okay, so here we go. So let's go one by one. Let's start down here with Office products. Probably should put that up top. It's kind of a good place to start. So first off, I'd recommend, if you don't have your Office 365 environment up, I'd recommend pulling it up and just sort of playing around with these with me. See if these are available and playing around with them. And then, if you get stuck or whatever, you can ask questions in the Q&A here today, and we can answer them on the spot. So first off, this is your Office 365 homepage. All of you should have access to it. And actually, I'm going to go ahead and put it as an announcement. If you go to office.com or portal.office.com, it'll take you here. So there you go. Just posted that up. Portal.office.com is just a shortcut. So basically, you'll be asked to authenticate into your environment. And once you've done that, it'll take you to your homepage. So this is my demo environment. So just so you know, there's not like a ton of content. I'm not showing you all my Microsoft stuff here, but you see there is some content in here. And what I can see just briefly is I can see all the applications up top. If I had a new computer, I can actually download Office Pro Plus, so all of my desktop clients directly from here if I wanted to. So that that might be turned off in the environment, but just so you know how it's kind of set up. These are some of the recent applications that I've been working on. My recent OneDrive applications would show up here, and my frequent SharePoint sites are down here. And I think you can customize this page a little bit, but this is how it is by default. The first thing I'd recommend, just when you think about Office 365, like natively built apps, if you go to portal.office.com and click all apps here, so I'm probably showing more than you have access to. I just have the highest license that Microsoft offers, and everything is turned on. So and I'm the admin, so you won't see some of these, right? Like if you're not the admin center will pop up. But you see, these are all the apps that are available to me in Office 365. And so what's nice about this is if you go there and you do the same thing, you can actually just see what everything is available to you, right? So like, let's say you haven't tried out Forms yet, like you've never heard of it before. You can hover over it, it'll give you a short description of what it is. And if you click that little I button right there, it'll actually bring you to external training too. So just know that most of this training is focused on the commercial space. So every now and then there'll be a slight difference between the applications, what the training is here and what you have available in your government environment. But usually but typically it's almost a one-to-one. So anyway, so just a nice way to explore what you have available to you, learn a little bit more, and just see what's out there. So let's start with these Office products. So really what the Office products do in Teams is they allow you to pin documents to a channel. And this is really nice for a couple of reasons. So, one, if you want to highlight something for a team that remains constant over time, it's a really nice way to do that. So just as an example of what my manager does, she posts up a wiki with her standard operating procedures, so like all of her expectations of how we operate as a team together. And she has that available to us over time. We also use that for resources. We'll post up a wiki or like a Word doc and just list out a bunch of resources that people need, and people can update that as a team, collectively over time as stuff changes and as new stuff pops up. So it really kind of calls out, you can pin something to a team and always have that available. I also think it's nice just from a project perspective, if you're like working on something like a PowerPoint document, so a presentation, or maybe a policy document in Word, or maybe a model in Excel, whatever you're doing. It's a really nice way to just post up for the team and make sure that everybody knows what you're all working off of. So everyone is just sort of oriented to the same file, right? And then once you're done with it, you can turn it off. So here's how you do it. You can do it a couple different ways, but we'll show you here. So if I go to this audit planning site, let's say, I have a bunch of tabs already open, and each one of these, by the way, I can remove or add at will. So the little plus over here is where you have access to adding or pinning an app to a channel. So if I pin an app to a channel, you'll see everything that's available here, but the three we're focusing on right now are PowerPoint, Word, and Excel. So what I can do is let's pin a Word doc. Let's say we're working off a document together, and we want to pin a Word doc to the channel. So I click Word. So what this is doing is it's showing me the current files that I have available to the team. So what I can do, so the thing that's kind of to know about this is you're going to have to upload the file to the team first, and then you can surf it as a channel, as a tab after that. So here I can see I have 2 Word docs in this folder. See if I have any in the archive. So I don't have any Word docs in the archive folder, no big deal. But let's go to my audit planning folder where I was at. I have this FAQ doc and this CDOD doc. You notice that this one is like not highlighted, it's in gray because it's a JPEG. And Word, I typed in Word, so like the JPEG doesn't pop up, right? So I can't use Word to surface a JPEG. So anyway, I'm gonna, yeah, please, Marvin.
Do you mind zooming in a bit just so the participants can see? There's a request to zoom in a little bit.
Oh yeah, is it hard to see? Sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, okay. So so you can see here, these are the documents that I have available. Let's go ahead and click this, how about the audit or the FAQ? Let's click the FAQ. So now so this is all the files that are available as a team. I've just clicked FAQ. This is just allowing me to, whether or not I want to make a post about it in the channel. So let's leave that on by default. This is the title of it. So let's just name it FAQ. So by default, it would just be named Word, but yeah, it looks like I have another one. We'll do FAQ2. So now this is going to show up as a tab in the channel as FAQ2. Hit save. And see what happens is now I have this tab up here, FAQ2. It'll show up here in my pane. And I can access it and interact with it like I could directly from the Files tab. So this is the overview of what it, what am I trying to say? This is the read-only version of it. So I actually can't, by default, I need to choose to edit it. But this is if I just want to read something. It's really nice. So I don't mess anything up right by default on accident. It just shows me quickly if I just need to read it. And then if I want to edit it, I can come over here. If I click edit, it'll automatically start editing in Teams. Or I can choose to edit it in my desktop app. So that's my client that I have downloaded on my local desktop, or in a browser. So it'll open up in a new browser. So anyway, so that's how it edited in Teams, and now I can just do that directly in Teams. So that's the first way to surface an Office application. I'm going to show you another way that I actually use more often than this, that I think is a little bit easier. So if I go over to the Files tab, you see here are those files that are still available, right? Same files as before. Now, if I go right over to this ellipses on the very, very right, and I click that, you'll see I have a couple different options on what to do with things. So I can choose to edit it directly, I can move it around or download it or whatever. And this very last one at the bottom is make this a tab. So that's typically, if I want to make a tab, how I do it. I'll go to Files, click the ellipses, click Make This a Tab, and then boom, easily it's already made as a tab, and I can go edit it and directly from there. So I can do that same thing with PowerPoint presentations and with Excel documents as well, and you can edit them all directly into Teams. You'll also notice if I go back to posts that now I just added that FAQ2 as a tab, and you'll see that this pops up that I just added as a tab, right? Whoops, let's go back. So you know, someone else could come in and I could, let's say, respond to it. And now I've started a conversation about it. And that's really, so again, that better together story where Teams really comes in, I think is this, because now I can say, you know, hey, channel. So if you mention channel, the entire, the channel will pop up. Hey, channel, check out this draft and help me, me improve it. Thanks. Now that popped out a meeting to a notification to everybody in this channel, right? That shows this channel. That one, that I posted this FAQ. Two, that it's now available as a tab. I probably should delete some of these, but I got a lot open. But anyway, it's now open as a tab up here with everything else. And that I have a request out to the team to go and edit it. That shows up in their activity pane. So just a really nice way to orient people to a file. And to have it at easy access to in the channel. All right, so those are the Office applications, and if you have any specific questions, Marvin, just jump in or please post them in the Q&A. Next one, let's go to, how about OneNote? Let's do OneNote next. So for those of you who haven't tried OneNote out, OneNote is a really, really nice note-taking tool that's available in Office 365 by default. It's actually a free application. It's available to consumers as well. So, you know, if you want to kind of try and play around with it in your personal account or whatever, you can download it for free and just start using it for notes. What's really nice about OneNote is it just, you know, like everything else in Office 365, it syncs, you know, across all of your devices, right? So for me, I've really, all of my stuff that in my life and for work, it's all in OneNote at the end of the day, or not all in there, but a lot of the stuff is in there. It's like my grocery list is in OneNote, you know, my whole personal notebook with, you know, all the different stuff that I'm doing, different lists that I have, different notes that I have on different things I do and like books I'm planning to read or whatever. And then for work, I have my OneNote with all my customer information and notes from meetings and all that stuff. So it's just a really nice tool. What else I'll say about OneNote is it also serves as a great whiteboarding tool. So especially on calls, oops, I meant to be posting that. So especially on calls, you can pull up OneNote as a tab in your team, and then you can use it for whiteboarding. So let me just show you kind of what I mean by that. So in order to tab a OneNote to a team, you can add a OneNote, by the way, to your group in a couple different ways. So the way that I typically do it, let's go to a cleaner channel here. Yeah, here we go. So you can add it directly through here, clicking OneNote. That's probably the easiest way to add a OneNote to your team. Yeah, it looks like I already had that set up, so we'll just remove that. We'll redo it. Oh, by the way, I should probably show you. Pretty easy to remove and add tabs, right? So going back here, I had all these FAQs. So let's say this FAQ 3, I don't need it. Basically, just click that little down arrow, click remove, and now it's gone. Okay, so back to this. So OneNote, probably the easiest way is to click the plus and to click OneNote. And you'll see what pops up is it's going to ask you if you want to create a new notebook or if you want to choose a notebook that's already available in your team. So when you have a team in Office 365, when you have a Microsoft team, you have a notebook by default that's created. It's not activated unless you start using it, but it's there as the default. And I think that's pretty nice because then I don't really see a need to have more than one notebook for a team, because OneNote is you can add different sections and different tabs to it. So I'd recommend just sort of keeping to that one notebook for that team, this default team notebook, unless there's a really good reason. If there's a good reason to have another one, doesn't hurt anything, go ahead. But just keeps it a little bit cleaner, I think, if you just use the one that's default there. So let's click this, the CDOT notebook. All I do is click that. I could have created a new one if I needed to, but let's just use this one that's available in the team. Click Save. And now I have this new tab that says CDOT Notebook. So you notice here, this is actually implemented recently. Is it's asking you to edit the notebook outside of Teams. I'm actually not sure why we did that, but just noticed that little pop-up just started coming in, like I think earlier this month or last month. So just know that. But anyway, so now we can see and work with OneNote directly in here. Yeah, I don't have anything in this, so let's go ahead and actually build this out a little bit, and I'll show you. I'll show you kind of how OneNote works. So so here, OneNote's, there are really two different categories in OneNote, okay? There are sections and there are pages. So this section, let's say training, Teams training. So Teams training is going to be the overall category in OneNote, and then all of these are going to be different pages. So let's say this page is going to be Teams app training. And what's nice here, it also has a little date, right? So by default, I know exactly when I created this page, which means I know what date I'm doing this training on. I didn't have to like put in the date. Yeah, you'll notice if you just sort of click around here, it'll give me all the white space in the team to start working in the OneNote. But just so you know, you can have multiple sections, you can have a ton of them, and you can have multiple pages within each section. You can also have subpages. Like let's say I'm doing another Teams app training for, app, I don't know, for health, for HR division. Let's say I'm doing another Teams training for HR division or something. If I right click it, I have some different options, including make it a subpage. And now that is a subpage under the overall Teams app training category. So I use this a lot for like, to organize my notes. So if you have like an overall like category, like let's say I have my weekly syncs with my team, or let's say with the customer, I have weekly syncs with the customer's IT group, and then I have additional meetings with like the various agencies with the customer. Well, I'll have like an overall page here for like IT group, and I'll keep all the different meetings that I have underneath that, and then I'll add a new page for agency 1. And I'll keep all the different pages I have for agency 1 below that. So that's just how I do it. Everyone has their own style, so don't, but just kind of showing you some of the capabilities in here. Then if I want to have another section, it's easy. Just click this, do a mentoring or something. Let's say I'm mentoring someone, I'm doing different sessions with them. I can do that here. Now I have a different color, right? And I can do any different session that I have with them. So it's very easy to use. And just kind of show you once you're actually in OneNote, what's really cool about it is it's kind of like a whiteboard. I mean, it's really kind of an open space to do whatever you need to do in. So you can see I can use this just as you would almost like a Word document with bullets. And if I just want to take notes using typing, that's one way to do it. But also notice too, if I just click anywhere else randomly, I can also create more text. So it really is very free, flexible like that. And if I click draw, I can also, start doing stuff like that. Maybe show a chart or something. And so what's cool about this is if you have a stylus, if you have something with a pen, a stylus, it's really just a nice way to do whiteboarding. So I use this all the time for whiteboarding, both individually, like when I'm just drafting something out with some quiet time and trying to think of how I want to organize something, and then also if our team has a meeting, we need a whiteboard space. I think OneNote's the best tool to use to do it. So anyway, an easy way to post that up there, start using OneNote, get started on that, and use that for those features if interested. And again, this shows up as a conversation, and I can reply to that conversation and say, hey channel, check out my great doodles. And now everybody gets that notification. So anywho, all right, so there is OneNote. All right, so next, let's get to some of the applications that people might be less familiar with. I don't know. Let's get to Planner first. So Planner is a really cool tool. It's really like an intuitive task management tool. So this is sort of like this isn't going to be a comprehensive tool to schedule an entire project in. So this isn't Microsoft Project. You're not going to be able to create a Gantt chart using Planner. Planner really is how I think of it as like a digital Kanban board, like one of those big whiteboards that you have with sticky notes. If you've ever been, kind of doing the Scrum thing and you put sticky notes up there and you move the sticky notes around as things change and as issues, bugs come up or whatever. That's really what it's replicating, but in digital form. So this is available in Office 365. No extra cost or anything. It's available. If you don't see it, it just means your organization needs to turn it on. And let's show what Planner looks like and how Planner works. So if I go to Planner, so you probably are getting the theme here. The way to add the the way to add the plan is to click the plus. And again, you have all the apps that are available to you. So click Planner. And let's call this let's make it a new, so you have two options. You can create a new plan or you can use an existing plan. I don't think I have any, I don't have any plans in this team. So again, each team, right, is going to be a different space. Like I have a planner for this team up here, but I don't have a planner for my CDO team. So anyway, so we're going to create a new team. Let's call it CDOT action items. And hit save. And it'll go through, spin for a second. This is actually creating that plan for this team. And now we have, boom, a new tab called CDOT Action Items that are available in this Finance and Admin channel that now are available to this channel and really the whole team to start tracking things. And so let me just show you a little kind of briefly on Planner 101. I mean, I could do a whole hour on Planner, but we won't get into all the detail here, but just to kind of give you an idea. Clicking the new, so see, this is what we call our buckets. So right now there is a to-do bucket by default that just shows up by default. To add a new bucket, you can click over here and add, let's say finance bucket or something. And now I have another category. So under each of these categories, what I can do is I can add tasks. So if I click that task, we'll do finance document assembly. I don't know. So the first step of doing a finance audit, maybe. And there's a title. I can set the due date for next week. I can assign anyone on the team. So this is important. You won't be able to assign anyone outside of the team. So again, if you think about teams as being a group of people, the CDO team is like 10 people. I could show you who's in there if you're interested, or it's all these people actually. And everyone who is a part of the CDO team now sees that this plan was set up. They have access to this plan. They can participate fully in it. But anyone outside of this team has no idea that this is happening, right? So you can only assign people that are in the team to the planner that's in the team. So let's assign Johanna to this one. And with those three pieces of information are all you need to add a task. If you want to add another task, it's just that easy to review financial docs. How about that? We'll set that for the week after. So it gives that person a week to do that, and we'll have Joni do that. So now I have these two tasks that are in here. What's cool about Planner is each of these tasks are totally flexible. So I could take this, let's say I just want to reorder it. I could pop it up there just by clicking it and dragging it. Let's say that this actually really makes more sense in the to-do bucket. Then what I could do is I could pull that and drag it over to this one, and now it's under the to-do bucket. So you can add tasks in different ways. You can move them around. And if you click on the task, you'll see additional information pops up. So this just allows a little bit more fidelity, like ability to add some more data to the task. So Johanna, once this is set up, let's say me as the admin, I'm signing as the admin today. I assign Johanna this task. She gets a little notification in Teams that she's been assigned to this task. She can then go in. She can then indicate that she's started doing it, that she just started, let's say, today, and that's now in progress. If me as setting it up, if I wanted to make it a more higher important or urgent task, I could have done that. Let's just keep it medium for now. And then I could put any notes to Johanna if I wanted to, so that she knows what to do. What else is really nice here is this checklist feature. So for me, when I set up a task for myself or for others, it's sometimes nice to say okay, these 3 items need to happen for this task to be complete. Item 1, item 2, and item 3. And then when they come in, they can check things off as they complete them, and they can make little comments down here. Item 1 has been completed. Make a little comment down here, and now there's a comment associated with this task. Item 1 has been completed, and it's been checked off, right? So it's just a nice way, kind of an easy way to keep things going. So from a practical standpoint, what I use this for typically are in recurring meetings, both internally and with my customers. It's just a really nice way to keep things, everything like on track. So we'll have all the tasks listed out, and as time goes on, we'll update them with progress. And then when things are finished, by the way, all you have to do is go in, click the completed, and it'll move from showing it to this little bucket down here called completed. So it's easy for me to see at any point what stuff with the progress that we've made this year as a team, and then everything that's active that we're currently working on. And then week over week, then we come back to it and actually present this out in our weekly meeting, and then actually go through all of the items together as a team and just do updates that way. So that's how I've used it, and how I think it's really valuable is just sort of keeping everything together and on track. There's also other things you can do in here too, just so you know. If you click on charts, you get a nice overview of all the tasks that are in there, what's been completed, what hasn't been started, what buckets things are assigned to, who's assigned to what. So right now, Joni's only one, but if I had a bunch in there, you'd see a bunch of stuff in there. So anyway, there's some nice, you can also see a schedule of like when stuff is due. It shows up on a calendar. So it's a nice tool. There's some more features that I didn't show today, but that's sort of the gist of it. So recommend, if that is something that you're interested in, to play around with that a little bit too. Okay, next, let's get into Stream. So Stream is a powerful tool. Again, it is also something that needs to be turned on, but it's really important to have Stream turned on in your environment to take full advantage of Teams. And here's why. So when I'm in Teams, everything, any recordings that I make in a meeting, so like let's say I go into a meeting, right, like this daily stand-up, join it. Well, anyway, actually, I won't go through it, but you can, easily record meetings in Teams. And anything that you record in Teams, yeah, let's just close that out. Anything you record in Teams will automatically be posted up into Stream. So Stream is the backend for your environment to think of it as your internal YouTube to your organization. So it's an internal tool. So it is, you're not going to be able to post stuff in Stream for external use, but it is your internal tool to manage all of the recordings that you have. And what's cool about it is you can also like create channels and post videos in Stream. Just to kind of show you what it looks like briefly, if I click on Stream here, you'll see it opens up in a new tab. I can see just sort of like, my content that I have. Like, let's go to my videos. Hopefully I have one in here. Yeah, I don't. Maybe I do. Maybe I should create one. But let's discover some videos. Let's see what else is out there. Cool. All right. So now I can see Diego has posted up these different videos across my organization, daily stand-ups, virtual lunches. And if I want to go check one out, I can just go click one and watch it. So that's pretty neat. I can also create, if I wanted to, I could create a new channel and start, like let's say I have a training channel, Teams training channel, and then each one of these trainings that we're doing like today, I could post up as another session in the training channel. So I could have one on, Planner, one on Teams apps, one on whatever, and then someone could come in here, find my channel, or I could share that channel with people, and they could go through and watch those videos sequentially. So it's a really nice way too, from like a training perspective, if you do a lot of trainings, or if you just have weekly meetings that you're recording, it's a nice way to just pull everything together in one place. So how do you use that in Teams? Let's go back. Really, it's the same process that we've shown with the other apps to include that in a team, but just kind of show you what's available here. If I click the plus and click on Stream, what it'll do is it'll give me an option to pull in a channel or a video. So this is cool because now I can pull in either a specific video, it'll just post up the video and I can click on it and it'll start playing. So like, let's say there's a video that you want to make sure everyone on your team watches, or maybe there's like an introduction video. Maybe you're creating like an onboarding team, and you have new people joining, and you want to make sure they see some onboarding videos, whatever that looks like. You can post that in as a channel or a video directly into the team, and it'll show up as a tab, and then people can just go through and watch it really easily. So the way you do that is, yeah, just click, video. Oh yeah, let's go and grab a URL here actually. Just kind of show you what it looks like. And Stream, by the way, is a really nice tool, not to get too much into Stream, but you see like this is kind of how it looks like. There's some options if you own a video, like you can trim a video at the front or the back if like you have a little bit of like empty space. Either way, you could do that. And anyway, it's just a really nice tool. I recommend kind of just playing around with a little bit. So I go in here. Hopefully I have permissions to do this. We'll see. Daily stand-up. I'm choosing to post this daily stand-up video. Save. And yeah, cool. So now I have, as a tab, a daily stand-up video. So so just along with everything else in my team, just available here, daily stand-up. Pops up as a video. I can click that, and then it just starts showing up directly in Teams. So again, Teams really is that hub bringing everything together. And so this is just another example of that. So, you could go to the Stream tab, right, in your Office 365 homepage and watch it there, or you could just post up for people in Teams, and people don't even have to leave Teams to see it and start using it and interacting with it. So pretty cool how Teams really pulls that all together like that. Okay, so that's the basics of Stream. Next, let's go to actually SharePoint library over here. So this is kind of a question that pops up relatively often, is if you have an old, like a repository for some of your older SharePoint files, and you don't want to migrate them over to Teams, but you do want to just sort of see them and have access to them. So this is a really nice way to do that. So if you click plus, you'll see you have two different options for SharePoint. You have SharePoint, which is really like your SharePoint site. So we're going to use that a little bit later and show you how you can use that. You also have this document library. And really what the document library does is I don't have one handy, but if you went back and like, let's say you're using SharePoint 2010 or something, then you have all your files that are available there. You go in, create that URL, pop it in here, and then what'll happen is it'll pull up basically a mirror image of that site as a tab into Teams. And so it won't migrate any files over to Teams. So just to be really clear, like those won't be available, like they won't be migrated over to your team site. But what it will be is like another tab that shows all those files that are available on your old site. And then if you need to pull stuff over into Teams, you could go in, use that tab, and then move stuff over as needed. So that's a really handy one. In the beginning, this is what I recommend if you're just sort of starting to get used to Teams and starting to use it. It's a really nice way to pull in stuff from your older teams, but it can get a little confusing because it's still in your old environment, right? So just know that you have your old environment and then you have your Teams file storage, and they're two separate places. But as long as that's clear to the group, it's a nice way just to be able to access your older files if you need to. So that's the SharePoint library. Next, let's go to Wiki. Wiki is a tab that's available in every new channel by default. So let's say if I have just a totally empty channel somewhere, I don't know, maybe not. Make a lot of stuff. All right, so you see here, like it's always these three always pop up whenever you create a new channel: posts, files, and wiki. Posts are the conversations that you have. Files you've already shown; those are all your files that are stored in SharePoint on the back end. And then you have wiki. Wiki is it's meant to be a collaborative sort of notes type of tool, really wiki, right? It's meant to be a wiki tool for your team. So it's a little bit different than OneNote, but it serves kind of a similar purpose. And for whatever reason, Wiki is the app that we've chose to also include because it's a nice sort of anchor for the team, especially for the manager, or if you want to consolidate resources or that kind of thing, expectations for the team. So let's just say, Team Wiki, we'll call it. And Wiki has different sections that are available. So by default, you have really two different types of information. You have the section title, and then you have content. So let's say planner expectations or something, just making this up. So this is the title of the section. And then if I go here, then I can type in the content for the section. Like, let's say, this is, I'm the manager, let's say, please follow this guidance for planner. And you'll also note you see a lot of different options that you're probably familiar with through Word, and other Office applications are available in Wiki, so it's a pretty rich text that's available to you. Let's click bullets and say, update actions weekly. Close out actions only after manager approval. I don't know, just making this up. And so these would be, guidance that would be for the team to use Planner, right? So this would be Planner. Then I could click another plus and say, I don't know, calendar expectations or something. And I can go through and please put out of office, whatever. So these are different sections, and other people in the team can add sections to this as well. And if you see here, if I click out, then I can kind of quickly, especially when you have a lot of content in here, you can just quickly go through the different sections using that tool there. So just a really nice feature that's included in every new channel. That's sort of like the anchor for the team, and allows you all to consolidate information into one place. I personally like to use OneNote more than Wiki, but for most of my teams, we have a consolidation of resources or something using Wiki, and then we have OneNote for more just general notes and whiteboarding and stuff like that. So Wiki tends to be, at least the way that I use it, a little bit kind of more formal, and OneNote tends to be a little bit more free-flowing. So at least how I use it, although you can use it however you'd like. Okay, so all right, so let's get into Power BI next. So Power BI, for those of you who use Power BI, it's our Microsoft's data visualization tool. It's really powerful. It's pretty easy to use, and it's a great way to display dashboards to teams through Teams. So I would think of Power BI and Teams together as, if you want to, create a dashboard, create content in Power BI, Teams allows you to publish that information to a group of people in a really nice, intuitive way. Again, it'll be posted up as a tab, and then anyone in that team can play around with that tab, and they can explore the data and manipulate the data in that tab without it affecting anybody else in the team. Okay, so let me just kind of show you what I mean by that. So I have Power BI listed up. Yeah, I already let's start it here. So click the plus, choose Power BI. I have, let's just leave it as Power BI, and I loaded up some data into this workspace. That's just dummy data, that's human resources data. So anyway, this is just sort of a public data source that I connected to my backend workspace. And by the way that you would do that is you'd actually go to powerbi.com, and then you can pull in, and yeah, I'm not going to log in and everything, but basically you can go there, pull in data there into your workspace, and then you can surf it in Teams. So the first step is kind of going to powerbi.com, getting your dashboard set up. You could create a new dashboard from scratch. You could pull in data from external data sources, and then once you have that backend data set up, now you can service it in Teams. So I'm doing that second step here. So I'm going to click the human resource sample, hit save, and so what you'll see is it'll create a new tab with that dashboard that I'd already set up previously. And what's cool about this is, if you've used the Power BI app or powerbi.com, most all of the features that are available in either of those also are available in Teams. So what I can do here, just kind of show you what I mean by that, is I can filter in real time. So I could filter, let's say, the people in our workforce that are 50 plus. Looks like that's what that is. So then you see all the data changes in real time, right? Or whatever region in the Northwest. Let's see what that team looks like. So this, I guess, is data, HR data for groups. And I can also go in, and if you're familiar with Power BI, you can do things like sort in different names. So I can just sort of change this, right? I could go and if I click on something, let's say I want to look at this graph and this is the male. So if I click on that graph, now I see all the male data, and what's not highlighted is female data. And then if I click on the gray, now I see the reverse. So anyway, so the main point being here that you can publish this data up into teams, and then everyone on the team can play around with that data and explore it on their own. There are tabs at the bottom, so there's a lot of stuff in here. And whatever one person does in this Power BI tab won't affect what this view looks like for anybody else. So anybody else that pulls up the tab, it'll just pull up as if nothing was changed, right? And if I were to go back into like a separate, a different channel and come back to it, you'll see that, anyway, it gets refreshed. So now I'm back to that standard data that I started with. So just a really nice way to publish dashboards. I was a business manager in one of my previous roles here at Microsoft. I use this all the time. And for my boss, who wasn't necessarily like super, Teams really helped him, it helped orient him, because he wasn't going to go to a lot of different places to find stuff. He's too busy. So this is just a nice way for him to go and have his dashboard at his fingertips whenever he needed it. So, all right, that's Power BI. And next, we're going to go to the website tab in our next section. So I'm going to hold off on that one for the second. But hey, Marvin, just open it up. Any questions that I can cover from the group at this time before we move on to the next section?
Well, there was a question maybe around a planner, if we can get a little bit more detailed. I'm trying to find a resource for this gentleman. And then a question around Yammer. Is Yammer turned on GCC?
So Yammer is available in GCC, as in it's like included in Office 365, so there's no additional cost or anything, but it hasn't gone through the FedRAMP process. So the reason that I'm not showing Yammer here today is we typically only offer it by exception to our customers, because basically it hasn't gone through all the necessary like government security review that the rest of our applications have. So it's available by exception. So it's not going to be typically available to you all unless it won't typically be available. So that's why we're not showing it today. Any other questions, Marvin?
That's it for now. Most of them have been answered. Thank you.
Sure. Okay. So let's move over to the next section through the website tab.
Adam,
so, yeah.
One last question that I did forget to mention. It was the ability to display the pinned applications on the left-hand side inside Teams. If you can demonstrate that, if that feature is available.
Yeah. So so I think what that's referring to is over here. So some of them are available now. Like if I go in here and I click Planner, what it'll do is it'll show me my overview of all of my different plans in Planner. Let's see if I can get through this. So anyway, here's recent tasks that I have. Here are, I have no tasks assigned to me, but anyway, I can just see all the different plans that I have available to me. So it's kind of like your individual summary, I guess is the way I think about it. So this is an across team look at your different applications that you have. So like here's the different notebooks that I have access to. Stream, maybe my watch list. Anyway, I think Planner shows it probably best, but it shows like all the different plans that I have, right? Like across all my 4 different teams, and I could click in and easily access them all there. There's going to be more capabilities coming to GCC in the near future. Well, you'll be able to pin more stuff using this. For now, I'd say it's relatively limited. Just know that that's there, but you can't really manipulate it too much. But that will be changing as time goes on. So yeah, good call out. Just know that that's there, and it's a nice way to sort of see your information that's consolidated across teams for some of the apps.
If you right click on an application, does it allow you to pin it on the left hand side? On one of those apps?
No, because this is a kind of a different view. This is a different view. Yeah, it's a different view.
Thank you.
Sure. Okay, so the second piece, so I mentioned earlier, the website tab, if you have it available in your environment, is a really nice way to bring in other applications and other resources, other apps to your team. So we're going to show you a couple of ways to do that. So first, let's talk about SharePoint Online web apps. So this is a cool method that's available to anyone in any of our government spaces. If the website tab is turned on, is the only thing you need, is you can surface your SharePoint Online web apps directly into Teams. So if you go to SharePoint Online, so this is kind of a more advanced feature, but I do want to just sort of mention it because I think it's worth mentioning. You see there's, just like in other versions of SharePoint, there's a bunch of SharePoint web apps that are available. So you can have like a list, for instance, you can set up your calendar for your team. Lists are used a lot, custom lists, and I'll show you what these look like here. I guess if you wanted to, you could, have links or whatever. I think Teams does a lot of this stuff better, honestly, but some of it's handy to pull in, especially like the calendar feature. So here's what you do. Here's how I'd recommend sort of playing around with it and thinking about it. So if you go over to Teams, and all of your teams have a SharePoint Online site on the back end, right? So if I go to Files and I go to Open in SharePoint Online, you'll see that a mirror image of these files here in Teams now pop up in more of what looks like kind of a traditional like SharePoint Online site. And I could edit this directly here if I wanted to too. Now, if I go to Apps up here in the top right, this little Settings button at the top right, I can choose to add an application within the team. So this is adding a web app, okay? If I click Add an App, so it brings me to the library. So this is the screenshot that I took on this slide here, is from this library. Let's say I wanted to add a calendar, a team calendar to my team site. And I could do anything, right? Lists, whatever. Let's say I want to do a calendar. Search calendar, cool, there it is, it's available. Let's do team calendar, create. Oh, great. Let's see if it works this time. Cool. All right, so my team calendar pops up. Oh, because I already had, yeah, okay, cool. So anyway, so here's what it looks like. So team calendar kind of, how you see the kind of the view in SharePoint Online. Now what I can do is I can take this URL and I can come back over to Teams. And if I click the plus and click the website tab, then really I can put in any URL and it surfaces that content as a tab in the team. So let's say I do calendar here and I click the URL, click save. Now I see what happens, hopefully here in a second. Oh, great. Which should work. Well, anyway, here I'll show you. I have some already set up in some other places. Yeah, maybe something's going on with my team site. All right, well, anyway, typically how it should work is it load up like the calendar on the back end. Like let's say you had a list like here. So this is a SharePoint Online list. So it's the same thing that I did here. Is I went back to let's do a list actually this time. Let's do a little bit different. So just real quickly here, go back to my site this is my SharePoint Online site. Click Add an App or add an app. Let's go with list this time. Team list. Create that. Now I have this new list that's available here as team list. This is just like a nice, like a list that I'd be using with my team to keep track of something. I can go back into Teams, use the website tab. And now my list shows up as a website tab in the team. And I can edit it directly in here. So I don't have to go back to that web point view anymore. So I do like, item 1, click save, and now that item 1 shows up. And then anybody else can go in there and view stuff, add stuff to it, edit it, export it to Excel, whatever you need to do. So the website tab is it's a nice way to surface web apps and teams. And for that calendar feature, which should work, it's a nice way to have a team calendar. In addition, you can bring in just about anything on the website tab, right? So like, let's say You have I don't know, like I use Bing all the time, which you can make fun of me for. That's okay. Oh yeah, probably should. You do have to like go through and actually do the actual URL here, but just kind of show you how it works. So I have Bing, there's the URL, click save, and now it just pulls it in as like a web page directly in the team. So, you know, something to know, like let's say you have like another, even if you don't have like another application turned on in Teams, I mean, what you could do, like let's say if you really like using Trello or something, you could actually bring in Trello as a website tab to a team, or some of them do exclude that, so you'd have to test it out first, but you can bring in a lot of different websites that way. And you can fully interact with this like it's a browser. So it's basically, it's using like Chromium on the back end. So it's really like a browser. So anyway, so know about that. You can do a lot with that. You can also, one thing that comes up a lot is forms. We still don't have a forms app in Teams, but I do want to quickly go through forms. Forms is our survey tool in Office 365, and it's really nice. It works well. So if I click new form, let's do you know, virtual lunch, and then like let's say we're scheduling a lunch for the group. Let's say oh yeah, well, if you hit new, you have a couple different options, and if you click the down arrow, you have some more options as well. So like let's say I want to click choice. So let's say let's do what date works best. And let's do, you know, June 5th, June 6th, whatever. You can add those, right? Hit add new, and then we'll say what would you like to cover together? And that will be a free-flowing answer that somebody can just pull in, so you can just get topics from people. And then let's say what type of food would you like? You know, pizza, burgers, whatever. And now if I go through, I can like preview what that looks like, and basically here's a survey. I've already set it up. If I send this URL out, it'd come out like this. So let's say I want to take this and share it with people. So if I go to share, first off, there's some options here. You can choose that everyone with the link publicly can respond, or if you want to make sure people only from your organization are authenticated, you can do that as well. And let's copy this URL here. And let's say I want to post this to a team and have a team fill it out. Well, if I click plus, you won't see a forms tab pop up, which is kind of frustrating, right? Like, okay, and hopefully that'll be coming in the future. But in any case, what you can do as a workaround is you can use a website tab. So let's go to the website tab, do a lunch survey, put that URL that I got from here. So I click share, right, copied it, paste it here, hit save. And so now what you see is in the website tab, that survey shows up just like any other tab, and people can go in and they can edit the survey in real time and submit it, and it submits. So just a really nice way to share surveys with your team if you're interested in doing that. That's a handy one. Okay, so that was pretty much the website section. Marvin, I'll quickly take any questions if there are any that I can cover.
We've answered them for the most part. The biggest question was around just getting a little bit more detailed in Planner, but I was able to provide some resources.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, so the main thing I'd recommend in terms of Planner is so come back here to your Office 365, you know, homepage, find Planner, click the I here, and then there's a bunch of stuff on office.com, like creating a plan, managing tasks, you know, videos here, and it's a nice walkthrough. So I'd recommend that's a great first step. If you just want to discover more about Planner, go there first. And then once you've done that, reach out or whatever. A lot of good YouTube videos and stuff like that on Planner too. Okay, cool. The last section. All right, so So this is a little bit, so just to set expectations here, third-party apps probably are not available in your environments right now. But, well, I'll put it this way. If you're in the GCC environment, you have access to over 300 third-party apps and teams. If you're in GCC High or DoD, so typically our higher security clouds for the military space, the intelligence space, for others, it won't be available at all. But if you're in the GCC cloud, that's typically all of our civilian agencies in the government space, also state and local government typically. If you're in the GCC cloud, you have access to these apps, but they do first have to be turned on by your administrator. And the reason I'm saying that is just know if these don't pop up, and if you're in the civilian space, if you're in the GCC cloud, just know that it's because they need to be enabled first. So it might be worth reaching out to your IT organizations if you want one of these turned on, to turn them on. Okay. And so let me just show you what these looks like. So this is my GCC demo tenant, right? So this is what's available in the government civilian GCC space. If I go to apps down here, you'll see the full list of apps that are available because I've turned them all on in my demo tenant, right? So these are just everything that's available just from a product perspective in Teams. And you can scroll down and just see there's like a ton of them, right? So they're just listed, I think, I don't know how they're ordered here. Oh yeah, top picks. So these are like some of the more popular ones. So Smartsheet is one that comes up a lot with some of my customers. Trello is kind of like a similar tool to Planner, but does have more enhanced functionality. Poly is a nice like survey tool. So I'll go through and show you one of these, but just know you can come in and just like, search from here, whatever you have access to. They're also, anyway, they're characterized in different ways over here on the side too. So like, let's say that there's something in this list that you really want to have access to. So first of all, you can check that list by just going to teams.com. Teams, I think it's just teams.com. Yeah, I should have looked that up. But if you go to Microsoft Teams landing page, there's a full list of apps that are available. Yeah, it's not going to be easy for me to get there. But basically, if you go in, you click around a little bit and you'll find like a full list of these applications that are available, or you can just search for it on Bing or whatever. Okay, so like let's say that you want to actually incorporate one of these. Let me just show you a little bit about how it would look. Okay, so what's cool about applications in Teams, like again, this like better together story. And I'm going to use Trello as an example, just because that's one that a lot of my customers use. So there are really 4 different ways that they're integrated in Teams that allow you to use it easily. Okay, so one, you can surface these apps as a tab, and I'll show you what I mean by that. So it's going back to my demo tenant. If I go to my apps team and I click Trello, so I have Trello. So I added Trello to this team, by the way, by clicking plus and then finding Trello. I just typed in Trello and I clicked it, and then I signed through, and then I added it to the team. So now it's available as a tab. So this would be similar if I went to like Trello.com. It would be the same type of view here, only now it's integrated in Teams. So this is my project plan that I'm using in Trello currently. So you can see it's available as a tab. That's kind of the first piece, number one. Second piece, bots are built in. So what's cool about that is not a lot of the Microsoft applications have bots built in, but a lot of the third-party apps do. So if I go back here and I go to that little ellipses that was mentioned earlier, and I find Trello, you'll see what a pop-up is the Trello bot. And so like, let's say, I just want to say, what can I do? Add a new card. So let's say add a new card, add Teams training live events, or Teams training third-party apps. How about that? So Trello is typing, right? So it says, cool, now I've added this third-party app. And what's cool here are these what we call interactive cards. Now I can actually change my project directly from this bot chat area. So I can choose a due date for it. For instance, let's say I want to do it next week. So I'm getting that set up. I can assign it to me. Let's say this is something that I'm going to be doing. So I assign it to me. Once it's done, I could archive it or move it. So you can use the bot here in real time to like manage your Trello project, which is pretty cool. And then the last thing that I'll note in terms of third-party apps is if I go back to Teams and I have Trello here, or posts rather, what I can do is I can type in Trello, or maybe it's like @Trello. Yeah, @Trello. And I can say, sure, search for third-party apps, I think is what I called it. And cool, that project plan that I just set up is now available, and I can search it here. And like, let's say I'm working with the team, I can say, hey, channel, please review this project plan. Does it look good? Right, so now that's a message I've posted out to my team. It references my Trello project plan that I just set up, and people can reply to this in real time and give me feedback on this project. So that's really where I think the value of Teams really comes in. Some of these third-party apps is you can use that in a very like intuitive way with your teams. So again, I don't want to spend too much time on that because I know not a lot of you might have these enabled, but it's worth if you use third-party apps. So Adobe Sign comes up a lot. For me, Trello comes up a lot. I mean, there's probably like a top 10 or so I can think of apps for my customers use. If you're using them already in your environment, you might want to just take a look and see if they're available in Teams, and then reach out to your IT group to enable them to make it easy for you and your teams to use them. Okay. Last thing I think on the agenda today is showing Power Automate. So this is getting again slightly more advanced. And Power Automate, is a tool. You'll just have to check if you have access to it. But basically, what Power Automate can do is it can link up it can connect the underlying API. So everything in Office 365 has APIs that you can plug into. Okay, and basically what Power Automate can do is it can connect between all these different applications and connect them together and create process flows based off those, what happens in different applications. So for Teams, using one example, here's what I mean by that. So a trigger, when I say available trigger, that means like, let me make that a little bit bigger. So available trigger, that means basically this is what would happen. This would be kind of like step one. Whoops. So like step one, and then step one goes to the action, which is step two. Let me just kind of quickly show you what I mean by this. But I just want to show you a lot of different options available in Teams if you're interested. So you can, like, for instance, have something happen and then post a message in Teams from Power Automate, or you can create a channel, have someone request to create a channel, and then an action could be that you actually create that channel in Teams automatically without you actually having to go in and do it. So let me show you what I mean. So here's a real life example that I worked on with a customer. They wanted to create a form. So forms, right, which I showed you earlier, which is that survey forms tool. Create a form for an event team to handle requests that came in. So once someone submitted a request through the form, so a URL was posted out on their SharePoint site, click this to submit a request to our team. Once somebody went through and put the data in and hit submit, what Power Automate did is it did two things. It, one, in their group, let me magnify it just so you can see it here. One, it created a new message in a Teams channel that a new form popped in. So that's a notification to the group that, hey, we had a new form pop in. Second thing it did is it created a new task in Planner for that request, and it assigned by default Joni to field all the submissions that came in. So when anyone went into forms and submit a request to the forms, one, you got a notification in their team channel, that group that put the form together, that a new request came in, and then Joni got a new task in Planner to evaluate it. And how they used Planner, I don't have the whole plan available to show you, but how they use Planner, if you can kind of see here, is like they submitted, you know, something was submitted, Joni would evaluate it, and then she move it on to phase 2, which is like internal review. So basically, like if it looked good, then she'd move it along, and then she might assign somebody else to evaluate it depending on what department it was from and that kind of thing. And then they use Planner to as stages to move it until they finally went and scheduled the request. So anyway, that's a little bit more, kind of more advanced, but Power Automate's pretty simple to use. I just wanted to show you on the back end what it looked like. So this is all it took is this to set this process up. So basically, here was the trigger, right? So in that first one, I showed what the trigger was. So that was when a new form was submitted. So 1, it posted that message up into Teams. 2, it created that task in Planner. That's basically what this was. So just to kind of show you, this isn't going to be a, you know, this is all I'm going to show on Power Automate, but just to kind of show you how that works and what the power of that is you can connect these different applications together and you can connect them within Teams as well to produce different actions. So if you find yourself doing really repetitive things over and over and over again, it might be worth seeing if you have Power Automate available and playing around with it to see if it can make your life a little bit easier. So just a little teaser there. Okay, so that's the end of the presentation. We'll stick around for any other questions that you have. So please post any questions that you have. And while we're answering questions, I'll leave this training schedule up for other trainings that are going to be available coming up here in June. So Marvin, do we have anything else in the queue?
We are all caught up in the queue. Thank you. So just waiting for any incoming questions. Please don't be shy.
Okay. Well, hey, you can actually answer pop-in questions after we close out. So it sounds like we've pretty much covered stuff. We'll hang around and answer questions for another couple minutes. But hope you found this helpful. I hope you have enough of an introduction here to start using some of the Microsoft apps and possibly other apps directly in Teams. And then please feel free to join these other sessions if you'd like to learn more about Teams and some of the other capabilities that Teams has to offer. So with that, I'll go ahead and close things out. Thank you all for joining today. Been a pleasure, and we'll see you on the next one.